Now, those suggestions came from 5 years ago. The next suggestions are from 3 years ago. Some new and probably some repeated ones, but I'll be skipping over the repeated ones and just addressing the new suggestions. And these, again, are from 3 years ago. The first one was more customization, and this was in reference to having more hairstyles and more facial stuff and whatnot, being able to change your facial features and whatnot. But this is something that probably won't happen because of the actors that are currently being used as models. It'd be very difficult to change face stuff and all the rest of it. Fishing. Now, this was not a suggestion to add fishing to the game because at this point, fishing was already in the game, but you couldn't rank it up, and it isn't the fishing system that was introduced now. In fact, Dagger took the suggestion from this video and implemented it into the current fishing system, which is why the fishing system is the way it is now. So that was kind of cool. Larger jump button for mobile. Now, I don't know if this is still an issue or not. If it is or if it isn't, let me know in the comments below to know if this suggestion has gone through. This suggestion made it into the game, an archer class, and we do have a ranger class now in the game. Pet improvements, and this was basically having pets that you could either rank up or they would have some kind of stat capability, being able to fight in battle, being able to open the bank, being able to do, these other things that they can do in AQ Worlds. And so I would say this has kind of been introduced. DC tagged items, and this is the way that their inventory system works. I don't know if this is even possible to do, but this would basically, the suggestion was that DC tagged items would not take up any inventory space or any bank space, so you would have infinite bank space regarding DC items. The way that they kind of fixed this, or trying to fix this, was by introducing collections, so you could get multiple items for cheaper and get these collections instead of keeping it in your inventory. Having a walk option, this is something that I think would be really, really cool. I don't see this being hard to implement since we already know that on the dev server they are allowed to do this because we have seen videos of them walking and whatnot. So I think if they were to have it, you could keybind it on PC, and then in the mobile, if you had it in your settings option, just open up settings, and then they would have a walk option just like they have for the sheathing weapon option. They could do this, or even a command /walk, and then you'd be able to walk instead of running everywhere. I think that'd be nice because people could, kind of role play a little bit more. A mini map. Now, this has been suggested time and time again, but I don't ever see a mini map system actually coming into the game. That being said, this has not been added yet. Wear a face item and a helm at the same time, and this has been something that has been suggested since then. I don't know how many times. The problem with this is we already have to load all of the items we already have, our cape, our shoulders, our armor, our boots, our belts. The problem with adding an additional thing to load would cause even more lag and problems loading for a lot of other people. So I don't foresee this ever happening. I think it would be cool, I just don't see it happening. A larger friends list, and this is something from 3 years ago that has been mentioned, I'm sure, a lot of times before then and after then, but who knows, we'll have to wait and see. That hasn't been added yet. Leaderboard /stats page. Now, basically what this was is showing people's stats in the game or showing them on a leaderboard type thing. Not something that I just don't really see this happening, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. More dungeon diversity. Now, this is basically meaning to have more unique dungeons. And since this video, we actually have had some. I mean, Sansi opened it up, and there was quite a wide array of different styled dungeons. So I would say that essentially this was met. More character choices. This was so that you could be a goblin, or you could be a trolloc, or you could be, anything, a werewolf, a vampire, whatever. They would give more suggestions so it wasn't just a human, but I don't foresee this ever happening. Community Games Zone. Now, this actually ties in with the Battle on Zombies map that we currently have in the game, as well as the original Battle on map that we also currently have in the game. So I would say that this suggestion made it into the game. For some more player suggestions, this is from 2 years ago. The first was an idea for a card collecting game. Well, more like a collection of cards that you could find around the world. There were some concept ideas online showing what the cards could look like if you clicked on them. This being another example of what it could look like in the loot. Now what they could do is they could add it as a token so there would be no visual thing. This would save a lot of work if it was just the name without showing what the card actually looks like. But here's an idea of the collection. This actually looks really cool. If you had a little slot, like its own section of card collections, being able to cap out all of the areas that have the cards, and if you were able to find all the cards on all the monsters there, it would give you a reason to fight all the monsters in those maps to get the cards and stuff. I think something like this would be a really cool idea. Maybe once you max out your collection, you get a really cool title and some cool pets or something. Another suggestion is to save cosmetic slots, and this would be a big one, and I would love to see this happen. Being able to sheath weapons, yep, this is in the game. Having a DPS tracker, now this is something that they do have in AQ Worlds. Who knows, it's something that could potentially show up in AQ3D at some point. More concerts, now this is of course something I would love to see as well. Who knows, we may have another one in the future. This is a reducing lag option, being able to have a hide player option so that people on their device would be able to flip a switch, which would then hide all the other actors in the map so that way you wouldn't lag. And I mean, this would kind of ruin the whole MMO experience for some people, but it would kind of make sense when you're at big events and you've got a ton of people around you. This could definitely help reduce lag by having that option. A character model revamp, and I've seen this suggestion multiple times. This is something that has not come into the game. I doubt it will, but who knows. Having an invisible weapon. Now this is something that does exist, but not anything we've ever had public access to. Now with the whole sheathing thing, I don't know if this is needed. Having a drop percentage item buff. This would actually be really, really cool. I don't ever see this actually happening, but I still think it'd be pretty cool if there was some kind of item or some kind of buff out there that would boost your RNG, so you'd have like a better chance of getting something. I don't even know if something like that is actually possible. More inventory space, and this is always a suggestion that I see, and the main reason why is because even though we are given more inventory space every couple years or so, you could always use more. Beginner area revamps. I had no idea that this had been suggested 2 years ago, but yeah, this is something that had been suggested, and this is something that Artix and Blaze and them had talked about doing, so there is a revamp for the whole tutorial thing that will be coming at some point once it takes priority. More classes, and this is something 2 years ago, and I saw this 5 years ago. This is not something new, and to this day I would still push, we need more classes. I would love to see a new class being released every 6 months. Return to old areas, and this is kind of like a reason to go back to these older places. This is definitely something that they have been doing, so I'm going to say that this suggestion was added. Better XP and Class XP farms. Now they kind of were doing that because with the whole Atlantis raid thing, that was being very generous with the XP and Class XP. So I would say in that sense, they are kind of trying to come up with better ways of improving the farming. Item lock, being able to prevent your items from being deleted out of your inventory or bank. I think this would be a great suggestion. Less cosmetics, more content. This is something I've seen a lot of people talk about. This was a suggestion from 2 years ago and still lives up today. Not something that's been done, although we have received a lot more content recently than just cosmetics, which is nice to see. Having controller support. Now, of course, on the Steam, you can use controllers. It's not exactly, supported in the same sense, but you can use controller. Whereas on a mobile, there's still a lot of difficulties with that. So having an official controller support for mobile using Bluetooth or whatnot would be very handy. More PvP modes. Now this is not talking about having just the same 5 versus 5. It would be 5 versus 5, but this is talking more about having capture the flag or other things like that. So we already have the domination mode, but people would like to see other modes besides just domination. More class borders. Now you'll see this little indicator right down here. Well, this is the border around there, and the little green thing right here indicates that I am a Kickstarter. And so that is something that this suggestion is about, is having more of those options. A dungeon finder. This is kind of the whole party finder thing, but there has been no take on it as of yet. I guess we'll just have to wait and see if this is ever going to happen. Color customized items. I don't know if this is something that is possible. I think it would be really cool to have this, but it's definitely not something in the game. Class variants. Now, this is something that actually did come into the game. Since this video, we have seen other class variants pop up, like the Crimson Mage, or what was the other one? The Pizza Mancer. And so we have been seeing variants of classes actually popping up, so this suggestion did make it into the game. Make selling items easier. This is still a problem, and I would love to see a way for them to fix that. Having a prestige system. We don't really have anything like that. I don't foresee that happening in the future, but who knows? What do you guys think of these suggestions? Which one of these suggestions would you guys like to see in the game first? What would be the very first thing at the top of your list if you had a choice? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.